All right, back up, buddy.
I don't open your picture.
All right, go. Get out of the way.
No.
What's going on, fellow fixers? I'm Jeremy, and I'm a fixer. Today's project is taking this run-down, beat-up old fence and replacing that. This is 8 foot. We're going to actually expand this to 12 foot and put a nice, no-sag wooden gate up. So stick with us. Let's get to it. Because this one's going to be a 12-footer, I opted to use cedar 2x4s because it's going to be a whole lot lighter than using these pressure treated for the actual gate components. So the first thing I needed to do was go ahead and take off the hardware from the existing gate that was on there. I knew I was going to be expanding the 8 foot to the 12 foot, so I went ahead and a couple days before this sunk a post in the ground and put concrete in there just to make sure that that was solid, and also go ahead and put a 2x4 from the top to the piece that's attached to the wall there to make sure that it's nice and solid and won't sag. So right here I'm going to go ahead and attach the fence to that new post and cut it off so that I can go ahead and rip the old part of the fence off that I'm not going to be using, and then go ahead and dig out the old post, which is also concreted in, and get that out of the way. And yes, in case you're wondering, it was very heavy. Alright, so like I mentioned before, I'm using cedar because it's lighter, and essentially what we're going to do, imagine a square. That's essentially what we're going to build, and then we'll put the fence pickets on that. But in order to make this stronger, we're going to half lap these joints. So what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to cut these down to length, in this case 71.5 inches, and then because I don't have a table saw, I'm going to use my circular saw, and I'm basically going to cut out the width of one of these boards right here halfway. That way I can sandwich the two together, and it's going to give it a lot of strength, and it shouldn't twist or bow or sag with the weight of the fence. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm using a speed square to make sure that this board is square to the end, and I'm lining it up to make sure it's flush so that I can get a good width on the actual 2x4. And then I'm going to mark it out, and I'll do this for all 4 of the support pieces, and this is so I can get that nice lap joint. The most important thing is using a speed square to make sure you get a nice good right angle for those lines that you're going to cut. Make sure you're unplugged when you're doing this. Essentially what I want, because I don't have a table saw, I want this circular saw to go halfway through the board, and then I'll chisel out the difference. After you cut it, go ahead and knock out the chippings, and then use your chisel to go ahead and chisel out the excess, and do this for all 4 of the gate pieces. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue and screw each of these joints, and then they're basically lapped over one another like so. I'm going to glue them and screw them. The biggest thing is to make sure they're tight so that you're going to get the benefit of that joint. The other thing is you want to make sure that they're square. So let me glue them up and then we'll screw them. Make sure that you're using exterior glue. Make sure it says interior and exterior. Exterior is important, water resistant. I'm going to put one in each corner so that I can make sure that it's all square, and then after I do that I'll go ahead and put 4 more in each corner to make sure it's good and solid. Make sure you're using an exterior screw here. You don't want something that's gonna rust. I mean, if you can afford stainless steel, that'll never rust. But I'm using a coated exterior screw here. Perfect. Let me go ahead and screw more into these. Alright, so the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a support brace. This will be the side on the inside where the 2 gates meet, and so I'm going to put a support brace that goes all the way down so that it applies that force. The whole point of all this is try to keep the gate from sagging. I'm using the Craig pocket jig to attach these center support piece. So if you haven't seen this, again, I'm going to put a link in the description for all of this stuff that I'm using. But this is going to make a nice firm joint between that top board and bottom board and the cross piece.
Yeah, this ball.
Yeah.
What is it?
Alright, I got one done. Now it's time to do the other. And notice what I did was I put all of the screws on one side so that whenever I put the pickets on, you won't see them. Here's what the pocket holes look like. Alright, so what I'm doing here is putting some 2x4s between the existing fence and the support post, and that ensures that whenever I actually go to attach the hinges to the gate and to the post, I'll have something solid to bite into. Otherwise there would be a gap between the picket and the actual post. So I'm going to do this on both sides in between each of the slats to make sure that there's just something good there to bite into. Alright, so before I can start putting hinges on the gates, I need to know where to mount the pickets, because I'm going to have to put 1 or 2 pickets on, because that'll have to go underneath the hinge. And so what I'm going to do is just measure from here down, which is 7 7/8.
You didn't need this?
No, buddy, I don't. Not right now, but thank you.
Here comes.
And then I can attach the board, and I'll probably have to cut the bottoms off just a little bit in order to make sure that it doesn't catch on the ground at all. Can I help?
Yep.
Huh?
Yep.
Alright, let me get one. Alright, so you can see here, using a speed square, make a line where the center of your holes for your hinge are going to go, and then just line it up and drive them in. Alright, back up, buddy.
I'm gonna open your picture.
Alright, go. Get out of the way.
No.
Hey, watch out. I will admittedly say that one of the hardest parts about this project is getting this thing mounted and level by yourself. So if you can find a friend, it will make it so much easier. He's just a little bit too big or little to hold it up for me. Okay, so what I've got to do is figure out how to get the fence pickets even from one side of the gate to the other, because there is a difference in elevation between each side. So what I'm doing here is driving a nail into the top of each picket on either side and then running a string in between them. That way I can turn each picket upside down and mark where it needs to be cut off on the bottom to make sure that it's a nice smooth transition from one side to the other. I'm basically turning each picket upside down, marking where that string is, cutting it off, and then I can attach the picket to the gate all the way across. Alright, so I ran out of time in the same day, so this is day number 2, and I'm just finishing up the fence. I got to put a couple more pickets on and then cut them off so that they are flush with the edge of the gate. If you've never used one of these oscillating tools, they're awesome. Made it so easy to just trim that picket flush with the edge of the gate all the way down. They just vibrate back and forth, and you can run that blade right against the edge of it, and it works perfectly. You could do it with a circular saw if you didn't have one of these tools, but this is going to give you a much cleaner, smoother cut, and it's going to be right there on the edge of the gate. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll put a link in the description below. You can click on it and see what I mean, what the oscillating tool is. I'm not sure if Home Depot or Lowe's rents these. You could check, but click on the link, you'll see what I'm talking about. Alright, so this is how I am dealing with opening and unlatching the gate. And the biggest thing is that whenever you go to drill your hole for the pull string, make sure that the latch is up. I learned that lesson. See how I'm pushing it up? I want the hole to be about where the top of that latch is whenever it's open all the way up. And once I do that, then I can feed the string through and attach it on the other side. Alright, so you can see that the fence is now finished for the most part. I'm still going to put hinges on the middle sections of each fence, and I've got to put a handle on the actual gate part of it. But you can see essentially what I've done. I put these large hinges on it on both sides. Whenever I mounted it, I made sure to make this level on both sides. The problem is this post is old and it's not plumb, so it's going to swing a little bit. I put a little pull string here that goes through to disconnect the latch, and you can put a lock right here if you don't want that to be functional. But you can see essentially what I've done is I've used those cedar boards, 2x4s, to make the gate. And you can see I messed up. I meant for this one to be like this with support from this top piece, and when I mounted it, clearly I did it wrong. But I think it'll work out okay still. Shouldn't sag with these lap joints the way that it's made. It's not really easy for it to twist. All the hardware and latches and everything I ordered on Amazon, so there's links for all of it in the description below. So check that out if you want to do this at your own place, want to see the parts that I used. Alright, well that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Jeremy. I'm a fixer. Get out there and fix something. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you get notified when I upload a new video. As always, we'll see you on the next video.